Hello and welcome to a video of self-reflection. I am Luke. A couple days ago was the new moon in the month of June, which will be the strawberry moon, which is coming up. I had a conversation today with a friend in which we discussed the kind of oscillating process by which emotions are experienced, and how we kind of go from one extreme to the other and kind of find an equilibrium in the middle somehow through that emotional differentiation and cognitive integration between, like self and other. We basically talked about what constitutes a self. How do we construct our identity? How does our symbolic order of reality influence our real lived experience? And that's something that I've had to wrestle with for quite some time. I'm 25 years old, so it's very much in theme in my current season of life to be dealing with these existential questions. I mean, they kind of are introduced to most of us in adolescence, and they kind of ripple throughout the rest of our lives. And I'm not quite sure there's a conclusion to be made. I think it is interesting to think about how from one extreme to the, it's not necessarily that we're trying to find one true extreme. Rather, it's that it's a balancing act. There's a dynamic equilibrium which allows us to respond to fluctuations in our environment and also our internal inner reality as well, because there's always this continuous ongoing process of change which we need to respond to, given a certain psychological, personal, cognitive organization. That is to say, we all have our way of understanding the world, of grappling with these big ideas. And as we come of age, they become more explicit because we've lived our lives for in childhood. We're kind of being programmed in a way in terms of like how to respond to different situations. We're basically just trying to survive, and we don't have the higher level thinking yet to be able to actually comprehend explicitly what we're doing. It's only after the fact, in hindsight, that we're able to make explicit the implicit that was present all along. And that realization can lead to a multitude of identity crises, as well as, it's just the negotiation between the parent-child relationship, where the parent is, this highly developed brain, and the child is very ignorant of a lot of life. And that's no fault of the child. That's exactly what childhood is for. Is for the expanding array of experiences and exposing the child to a variety of life situations and conditions that ultimately prove resourceful and necessary in their development. We are constantly put outside of our comfort zone in order to grow, but we're also, as humans, kind of naturally inclined to crave some kind of stability, of predictability. We're animals of habit, and we recognize patterns, and patterns are predictable, and predictability leads to survival because you're not surprised by anything. And yet in today's world, it's changing so rapidly that it's taking an enormous amount of cognitive energy just to do basic chores that are like responsibilities for looking after ourselves, but it's difficult. And so I say all of that to kind of introduce these big ideas that I've been wrestling with, and just to gesture at how exactly our position in human history is unique to us as individuals. I'm assuming most people who watch my videos are in quarter life, meaning that they're between the ages, I don't know, 16 and 36. But I could be totally wrong with that. I mean, not a lot of people watch my videos to begin with, so even that's a generalization. But I am, in terms of like this channel, thinking about what can I actually what can I share with the world that's beneficial, and I want to bring value in a way that's constructive and also creative to my own tastes and interests. And I mean, I do a lot of reading, I do a lot of digesting these big conversations and ideas, and I would like to structure them into a more entertaining form. Currently, I've been uploading every couple of weeks in a loose alignment with the lunar cycle, and that's been beneficial for me to just get a feel for uploading. And I don't know exactly why people have been watching, but I do enjoy an audience, and I'm slowly, not quite to 100 subscribers, but I've been uploading these videos, more of a time capsule and more of a view into my life context at that specific time. And I don't know what to do with my hands. The world is changing very fast, and it takes quite a bit of effort to manage, to find a meaning, and make appreciable change so as to better one's material conditions, social relations, all that jazz. What has helped me most is probably just softening my orientation and truly approaching life with as radical open-mindedness as possible. And that even extends to people who are closed-minded, because I know that I once was closed-minded as well, thinking I was open-minded. There's a tension there between, essentialism, fundamentalism, exclusivity, and there's a very natural tendency, I think, in humans to gravitate towards one extreme or the other and kind of lose sight of the spectrum that exists. It doesn't, obviously, in certain conversational contexts, we need stable, unitary meaning in order to communicate anything at all. But those words, those symbols, do not represent reality as much as they represent our understanding or apprehension of reality. So there's a natural ambiguity, and even with the idea of them being stable meanings, like we can see how there's semantic drifting over time, we can see how words change, language evolve, language dies, as if there's a living quality to speech, to writing, to communication. And with the amplified discourse of today, meaning that social media and the internet, the World Wide Web, has improved upon our abilities to communicate with anyone, anywhere, that inherently decontextualizes all of our life and kind of uploads it to this kind of mass hallucination of online media, and those conversations gravitate towards the extreme, and I'm not quite sure how to interact with those posts, those clips, those conversations that don't quite align with my worldview. I understand we all kind of operate under an ideology, and that's important for survival. I'm not one of those people who use ideology in a pejorative sense. Rather, I think we all have our own ideology. It's kind of necessary for survival, and ideology by nature is self-erasing, in that if ideology is good at anything, it's convincing us that we don't have it, right? There's a tension between recognizing that our ideas could be something other than what they are, that there's a potential to change, because change can kind of feel like death in that sense, where we're losing what we had, and so we're holding on to it for dear life, but in holding it, we're not able to kind of like relax into it and appreciate what we have. And I think I'm getting better at understanding that life isn't a problem to be solved as much as a wilderness wanting to be explored. Myself, at least, is a wilderness that's just kind of like messy, enmeshed collage, which I'm rapidly exploring and trying to create a mural that's talking metaphorically here. I'm trying to create something that's both beautiful and profound. And a past version of myself would have felt insecure saying that, because admitting any amount of responsibility for my life kind of felt like a given, but also there was a deep shame associated with that, because there's a guilt for even acknowledging my existence as a self. And I know that no one else can look after me in the way that I can look after myself, but there's this conflation in our culture, implicitly, sometimes explicitly, that self-care is selfish. And even if that's true, then it's still not bad. Selfishness isn't necessarily bad. Greed is kind of the culprit here, but people in power don't want us talking about greed, because then we realize the very asymmetrical power relations that uphold the inequalities of today's world. That's a tangent I'm not going to go on, but I do like exploring that topic. And if that's controversial to say that inequality exists, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, some of the comments in various sections of YouTube and Reddit that I've been perusing and browsing definitely give off the impression that even mentioning capitalism by name is woke. And that's something that I've been really interested in trying to understand better, is why this particular backlash against what they call woke ideology or gender ideology. And I know that's political, I know it's controversial, but those are the most interesting things to me, aside from the spiritual, the religious, the psychological, the cultural. The pursuit of truth is something that I've been instilled with from a very young age, because I was taught through biblical teachings that the Bible is true, absolutely true. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And even after I no longer identified as Christian, even after I lost my religious faith, I still, through extreme doubt and skepticism, still held on to that belief that truth is out there, truth is in here even, and truth is something that is worthwhile, it's worth pursuing, it's worth knowing. And even if we don't know what we don't know, or we know that knowing anything is possible, knowing that, getting mixed up here, epistemology, the study of knowledge, how we know what we know, that is something that's always kind of intuitively been of interest to me, and I would like to extend that to all of these different, what are they called, the intellectual playing fields, the public conversation, the marketplace of ideas, I believe. What a strange metaphor, but I want to help people make sense of the world and themselves in a way that is gentle, is loving, is resourceful, is compelling, is revealing, is sensitive to their uniqueness and higher calling and all of that, because that's what I think has been most beneficial for me in my journey of going from a place of so extreme mental illness and depression, anxiety, and suicidality. And there's this huge gulf between who I was and who I am now, and even who I am now versus who I want to be in the future. There's a tremendous amount of things going on in the background unconsciously that I'm working through and trying to make explicit, but you can't rush these kinds of realizations. You can only, it's like planting a garden, you can only do the necessary steps to provide maintenance and facilitate or promote the favorable conditions of growth. But the plants can't be grown any faster unless you start genetic engineering, and that comes with its own problems, because then it's more processed food, right? It loses some nutritions because then it becomes a monoculture and the diversity is lost, and we're omnivores, and there's a lot of interesting ways to kind of expand that metaphor. This is kind of more scattered thoughts than usual. Normally with these videos, even though they are reflective and kind of all over the place, I feel like there's usually a through line because I'm working through a feeling and I'm trying to like get to a realization. But I mean, recently I've been actually doing quite well, and it's a bit strange to say that, but I think I am improving my mood. And one of the things that has helped with that is to-do lists, but specifically and writing down what happened during the day. So what I'll specifically do is at the end of a day, I'll get a notebook that I've used or had since 2018. I think it's important to journal, and if you haven't started journaling, now is the only time you can start. Now, and it's so valuable looking back, but that's another tangent. So what I do is, I've got the page in front of me. I write down, tomorrow I will, and 3 boxes to-dos, and I write down what I'm going to do tomorrow. And then underneath that, and like my first day, it was just really simple. Like it's important to make it, it's less about actually doing the thing as much as building self-trust, self-efficacy, where you could have done them anyway. Like what I started with, like brushed my teeth, floss specifically, hydrate, make sure I drink 2 liters of water, really basic stuff like that. That is really doable and almost so easy that you feel like you shouldn't write it down. You feel like you should challenge yourself, but make it easy and then check it off and keep doing that every single day. That consistency, even if it's something small, truly builds up a momentum, and it accumulates in a kind of self-empowerment that's really important, and I think needs to become more prevalent for people like us who are reflective individuals, who want to make the world a better place, who want to understand, who have this desire to connect with people and to enjoy life and not feel bad about it. And so after that, I write basically a summary of what I did throughout the day. And that's harder to do sometimes because that self-reflection is painful, or rather I'm like forced to face who I am, and that's not always easy. I mean, a staple of facing my fear is that I have to face myself, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to confront those insecurities. I want to avoid those tensions, as if like not looking at them will make them go away. But no, they're still there. And only after they become, like, this is basically like the issue that I've had for the past few years, is that I'm trying to undo past patterns. I'm running on old programs, and I want to revise them. I want to restructure my sense of self to become this better version of myself, this more fully realized, this maximized potential, not in a kind of a capitalistic capitalismist way, not in a way that like markets value, but I'm trying to maximize potential, in that I have like these goals, these desires, these earnest dreams that I want to materialize, and I realize that life is short, life is precious, And I can recognize that if I don't take active steps toward them now, I can push it off indefinitely, and maybe like my life will just vanish before my eyes. And so I'm trying to make actionable, appreciable steps in a direction that I want. And it's hard to kind of hold that desire without fluctuation, especially in the past when I haven't been stable, and depression is really, well, do I even want this? Like, it's so much work and I feel like crap anyway, so why would I even, like, it doesn't matter what I do, I'm still gonna feel like crap. Why am I even alive? Like, these kind of ruminations were very prevalent, and presented a tremendous amount of obstacle and hindrance to my development in the past, and it's taken quite a while to get through them. And so I can celebrate that. I can celebrate that I am making progress. It still is very frustrating how slow it is going. It's very frustrating, but it's worthwhile to consider just how much I have changed and grown, and that I'm making measurable incremental improvements that benefit both me and the world around me. And I'm becoming more sure in myself, and through this process I am feeling more comfortable sharing myself online. I realize there are risks to that. I realize that personal information is valuable. I mean, there's the entire attention economy. And I realize that there are bad actors out there who will gather up information and like scheme up evil things, I guess. But I don't want to live my life in fear anymore. And if that happens, if I'm forced to face hardship in that way, then so be it. I think I'd rather be fearless and obviously, be careful and not reckless. But I mean, there is something to be said about just abandoning all pretense of rationality, and at least in the creative pursuit, just completely immersing oneself in the flow of action, of just completely giving oneself to a work of art. I mean, that's a different context than perhaps what I'm talking about now, but there's obviously this balance. And so I'm wanting to recognize just how far I've come, and also realize just how far I have to go. I'm scared of losing what I hold dear, but it's what makes it possible to grow. And so if you made it this far, let me know what you think. Comments, subscribe, I don't know. These types of videos are, I guess, people watch them. I mean, yeah, it is what it is for now. I enjoy this creative process, and I look forward to when I have the capacity to share more online, as I'm going to keep talking about that until it actually happens. But yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure to stay hydrated and keep breathing. All right, see you next time.